Hey guys, since I'm an animator and filmmaker, I thought I'd make a video about my top 10 favorite animated films. This was a tough video to make. I've seen so many animated movies, and there were so many that just barely missed out on the top 10 list. Some honorable mentions are Dumbo, Aladdin, Monsters Inc., The Jungle Book, Lego Batman, Cars, Mulan, Atlantis, Treasure Planet, Toy Story 2, Snow White, The Fox and the Hound, Tarzan, Tangled, Kung Fu Panda, The SpongeBob Movie, Hercules, and so many more. I also narrowed this down strictly to theatrical animated movies. If I included straight to DVD and streaming, it would be a nightmare. First off, at number 10 is The Emperor's New Groove. Emperor's New Groove is filled with great characters. Yzma is one of Disney's best villains, and Kronk is one of the best characters, period. I love the humor and the style of this film. It's very different from any other Disney film. I love the fourth wall breaking where Kuzco pauses the film to talk to the audience. I love the part where they're being chased by Yzma and Kronk and you can see them dancing around on the map. And my favorite part of the film is when Kronk talks to the angel and demon on his shoulders. Number 9 is Beauty and the Beast. Ever since I was a kid, this was always my favorite of the princess films. Belle is great. I love Lumiere and Cogsworth, Mrs. Potts, and Gaston is another one of Disney's best villains. Also, this film has some of my favorite songs from all of Disney's movies. Number 8 is WALL-E. I love that WALL-E starts off as almost a silent film for the first half of the movie. The film predicts a lot of not so great things going on in the world and continue to get worse since this came out. Humans' over-reliance on technology, our destruction of nature and the planet, and the abundance of food and other things causing most of us around the world to get a little wider over time. Hopefully this film isn't completely accurate and we don't have such a dark future ahead of us. But luckily a lot of us have this film to teach that lesson and hopefully create a better future for us. I also love the music and the visuals of the film, and the character design of WALL-E is one of my favorites from all the Disney films. Number 7 is Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. This is my favorite stop-motion animated film, and I think one of Tim Burton's best. Director Henry Selick did a great job bringing Tim Burton's visuals to life. I love all the creepy but cute designs of all the characters and the worlds in the film. It's also a great story combining the two best holidays of the year, which is why I watched the film both in October and December. It's a Christmas classic up there with Christmas Story, Elf, and Die Hard. And of course I have to talk about Danny Elfman's fantastic music and singing. My number 6 is SHREK 2. This is another film that I watched all the time growing up. This is by far DreamWorks' best film. The animation is obviously updated from the first one. We get the introduction of Puss in Boots. We get Mongo, the giant gingerbread man, at the end. We get the fairy godmother, who's a great villain, and Fiona's parents, who are entertaining. I wish the sequels could have been as good as this one, but I still love all the Shrek films. My number 5 is Into the Spider-Verse. This was the best animated film I'd seen in a decade. I was blown away when I saw this in theaters. The visuals, the style of it, mixing 2D and 3D, giving it a comic book look, with the frame rate changing depending on the characters and the scenes. The characters were great, it was super funny. It got me more interested in Miles Morales and some of the other Spider-Man characters. I love the designs, especially Kingpin. Thank you to whoever created his design. I also like seeing Doc Ock's alternate look in this universe, and the Prowler was great as well. I cannot wait for the sequel. I'm keeping my expectations low, but I hope they knock it out of the park again. Number 4 is The Iron Giant. This was another film I watched a million times when I was a kid. It's one of Warner Brothers' best films and Brad Bird's. I'm such a fan of the film that I even have one of the original animation discs from Warner Brothers that was used to make this film. The characters in the film are fantastic. The integration of 2D and CG with the Iron Giant figure works really well, and the ending gets me every time. My number 3 is Disney's Up. What can I say that people haven't said about this movie before? The characters are fantastic, the music's amazing, the visuals are always great coming from Disney, and of course I cried along with everyone else in those first 10 minutes. I'm still mad at myself for never seeing it in theaters, but luckily I had family members that told me to check it out when it came out on DVD. Number 2 is Pixar's The Incredibles. I watched this in theaters when I was really young, and I'm surprised I never wore out the DVD for how many times I've seen that movie over the years. It's by far Brad Bird's best film and Disney's best film in my eyes. The style of the film is perfect, the designs are great, the music is fantastic, the action scenes are amazing, and it's also super funny. There's so many iconic moments and quotes that people reference to this day. There's a reason it took so long for them to make a sequel, because they knew they could not top this film. And finally, my number one animated film is Batman Mask the Phantasm. This film was created between seasons of Batman the Animated Series. Ever since I was a kid, Batman the Animated Series was my all-time favorite show, my favorite piece of animation, and my favorite version of Batman. To this day, nothing's topped it, whether it's live action, animation, or video games. If you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. The story is a murder mystery where Batman has to find out who's killing all these mobsters, and this film introduces a brand new villain. This film has Kevin Conroy, who will forever be the best Batman, Mark Hamill's Joker, and Shirley Walker's amazing score. Nothing will top her theme. Sadly, the film was a flop when it came out in theaters. It was released a few years before I was born, but luckily over the years, I've seen it a few times in theaters. This film was created by some of my all-time favorite artists and writers, including Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. This film also showed Batman's origins a decade before Batman Begins even came out. The film goes back and forth between the present and the past, showing us the birth of Batman. Well, those are my favorite animated films. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know your favorites.